Hello everyone, it's Robert Crable here, and I welcome you to another Amtrak Trip Report, the Southwest Chief, which serves Chicago and Los Angeles. We'll be going as far as Flagstaff, Arizona, in a Superliner bedroom. We begin at the Deerfield Metro Station, just before 11:30 a.m. on Christmas Day. An outbound Milwaukee District North train arrives, being led by Metra's newest locomotive, the SD70 Mac. Following its departure, our inbound train pulls in, and we climb aboard for Union Station. The car we're riding in is part of Metra's original fleet, manufactured by Bud. These Bud cars were first built for the Milwaukee Road in 1961. The same design was used for the Rock Island Line in 1965, and Bud continued to build such cars until 1980. 3 minutes after Deerfield, we meet Amtrak's Hiawatha 333 going to Milwaukee. It has all Siemens Venture cars, plus an NPCU Charger doubleheader at the south end. Let's peek inside a Metra Bud car restroom. As you can see, it's really tiny and quite dark. In a nutshell, it's just a basic commuter toilet. By 12:15 p.m., we are well within the Chicago city limits. Two of the locomotives you see in this yard are F40Cs, which have been retired for a while, and I don't think they've moved an inch from that spot. We make it to Union Station just shy of 12:25, right next to one of Metra's brand new holiday trains, where the locomotive and car interiors are covered with festive holiday decorations. The Great Hall also has some beautiful touches, the most notable being the Christmas tree. It stands tall and proud in the center of this historic waiting area and is a popular photography spot during the holiday season. At 2:30 p.m., boarding commences from the Metropolitan Lounge. Everyone is asked to line up in the front, where they will be escorted down to their train. Our Southwest Chief is waiting for us on track number 14. Right now, a typical Superliner consist for the Southwest Chief includes 2 coaches, the Sightseer Lounge, a dining car, and 2 sleepers from rear to front. Leading the way are 2 Genesis P42DC locomotives. We'll be in sleeper car number 330, bedroom B, for the next 30+ hours. And we depart from Chicago Union Station right on time at 2:50 p.m. The train down there is Amtrak's Illini, number 393, also a full Superliner consist. It will be going down to Carbondale later in the evening. As the train emerges from the Union Station tunnel, we meet the eastbound Chief, number 4, which has just completed its 43-hour journey from Los Angeles. At the time of our travel, LA Union Station was closed to rail traffic for a few days because of track work, so our service had to terminate in the suburb of Fullerton. A minute or two later, we diverge off onto BNSF freight territory, the permanent host railroad of the Southwest Chief. Considering that freight rail lines are notorious for delaying Amtrak trains, we actually did a phenomenal job with on-time performance, arriving in Flagstaff only a half hour behind. I took this exact train from Chicago to LA back in June 2017, and let me tell you, we got there 6 hours late. Not only did we encounter delays waiting for other trains, but also our engines broke down in the Albuquerque station. It was to the point where a BNSF locomotive had to jump to the rescue and pull us the rest of the way. The first 45 minutes of our journey takes us along Metra's busiest commuter route, the BNSF line. We speed through every stop except for Naperville. Shortly thereafter is Aurora, the western terminus of the BNSF line. Leaving the suburbs behind, the train races through the rural farmlands of Illinois. A few hours later, darkness has fallen upon us as we cross the mighty Mississippi into Fort Madison, Iowa. We won't be in the Hawkeye State for very long, though. Fort Madison Station was actually relocated a couple of years ago, and this is our first of 6 fresh air stops until Flagstaff. We took great advantage of all of them. The clock strikes 7 p.m., and it's now time for our dinner reservation in the dining car. The Southwest Chief is one of several routes that offer traditional dining service, which is far superior than the flexible dining. Here's my Christmas evening dinner meal. My appetizer is the coconut-crusted shrimp. The entree is Amtrak's signature flat iron steak with mashed potatoes, carrots, green beans, and crispy onions. And on the side, 2 rolls and a cup of orange juice. Why not? I have a simple trick for you when the sky gets pitch black outside and you still want to see out the window. Turn off all the lights in the room. After racing through the Missouri darkness, we arrive at Kansas City for a 1-hour layover. The neighboring train is Amtrak's Lincoln Service Missouri River Runner. In spring 2022, Amtrak combined the Lincoln Service and Missouri River Runner into one big operation between Chicago and Kansas City in both directions. I reboard the train and drift off to sleep for the night. Waking up in snowy southeastern Colorado, I can confidently admit to sleeping very well. But literally, look at our window. It's covered in muddy snow. Our first stop after waking up is Lamar, Colorado. We kept a good schedule overnight through the state of Kansas, with stops such as Lawrence and Topeka. We have also changed time zones and are now on mountain time for the rest of our travels. The wide open doors greet us into the dining car at 7 a.m., where we return for a first-come, first-served breakfast. We spot the John Martin Reservoir State Park and Dam out the right side. My order, French toast with bacon and a cup of orange juice. It's just shy of 7:45 as we roll into our first fresh air stop of the day, La Junta, Colorado. Just look at all the muddy snow that's accumulated on our train overnight. After La Junta is when the mountains start to come into view. Let's go to the Sightseer Lounge to enjoy this a little more. To my surprise, this car was refurbished with new seats, tables, and carpeting. The Sightseer Lounge also features a small service bar on the upper level, next to the stairwell. These service bars have been out of service on Amtrak Sightseer Lounge cars since the early 2010s.
Here in about 37 minutes or so, we'll be traveling up through the Raton Pass and entering the Raton Tunnel. Once we reach the tunnel, we'll be at the highest point on the Santa Fe Trail at 7,588 feet. Really not a whole lot to see because you're inside the tunnel. It just gets dark. But we'll be there in about 37 minutes. Raton in about an hour.
After departing our final stop in Colorado, Trinidad, the mountains really start to kick in as we climb the Raton Pass. Make sure you keep an eye out for wildlife once in a while. Some deer have been spotted running around in the snow. Also, try standing up and filming out the top window of the Sightseer Lounge that wraps up to the ceiling. Let's see what the view looks like from the rearmost door. So let's head to the second coach. Both coach cars are also fully refurbished with new seats, carpeting, and window curtains. Right now, I have seen more Superliner food service and coach cars refurbished than sleepers. As the views pass by, let's dive slightly into the history of the Southwest Chief. It's the successor of the Super Chief, which was inaugurated in the mid-1930s and ran for less than 40 years. In 1974, the service was renamed the Southwest Limited after Santa Fe forced Amtrak to discontinue the Chief brand on its former trains. Subsequent improvements were made, and Amtrak got the green light to change the name to the Southwest Chief a decade later. The original Southwest Chief route was 90% the same rails that are still used today, which is between Galesburg, Illinois, and San Bernardino, California. Up until the mid-1990s, trains used the ATSF Chillicothe subdivision between Chicago and Galesburg, with intermediate stations in Joliet, Streator, and Chillicothe. Now it uses the BNSF Mendota subdivision, with stops in Naperville, Mendota, and Princeton. The Pasadena subdivision was also a former leg of travel between LA and San Bernardino, stopping in Pasadena and Pomona. However, that subdivision was closed to all through traffic after the Northridge earthquake damaged a bridge over I-210. So now it uses the Santa Fe 3rd District via Riverside and Fullerton. These current legs of travel are what the Southwest Chief has been using for just shy of 30 years. 10 a.m. has come, and we enter New Mexico just before disappearing into the darkness of the Raton Tunnel. It is the highest elevation of the Raton Pass at 7,588 feet.
Enter the station. As soon as you hear that, all aboard shortly after. We are leaving, so if you'd like to join us, please get back on before we close the doors. Raton, New Mexico, next station stop.
About 15 minutes later, we walk back to our sleeping car to detrain at Raton Station for our next fresh air break. We depart at 10:30 sharp to continue our travels through the New Mexico desert. We have a lunch reservation for noon, so it's back in the diner we are. Yes, you are seeing this correctly. The stop is Las Vegas, New Mexico. Shortly after departure, we noticed buffalo roaming the field.
Today, you do have the right not to let you back on. So if you can't hold on to that cigarette break, you need it that bad, there's plenty of other ways of transportation.
Here's my lunch meal, a plant-based awesome burger with a side of kettle chips. For dessert, the butter cake with whipped cream, strawberry, and caramel syrup. and, you guessed it, a cup of orange juice. It's also worth noting that some long-distance routes operate lunch on a first-come, first-served basis, but others, like these, go by reservation. Excuse my chewing in the background. Anywho, let's enjoy some more beautiful scenery out the window as the landscape deepens in red. The train is nearing Lamy, New Mexico, but pulls into a siding for about a half hour to wait for our sister train, number 4, to pass us. This was the only real delay we encountered over the course of this trip. Just shy of 3:45, we're slowly phasing into the greater Albuquerque area. And at 4:10 p.m., we roll to a stop at the Alvarado Transportation Center in the heart of downtown Albuquerque. Of course, we step off for another fresh air break. There's also some tables on the platform where you could buy jewelry from local vendors. The train will stay put for about 45 minutes as we try to make up some of the lost time. Some passengers use this time to walk about a block west of the station to a small grocery store, as authorized by the conductor. Here's a view of the front of the station coming back from that grocery store. We didn't get anything, we just checked it out. The snow has slightly melted over the past several hours, as it is evident on this coupling. Alvarado Transportation Center is also served by the New Mexico Rail Runner commuter service between Santa Fe and Belen, New Mexico, a suburb about 35 miles south of Albuquerque. It's 4:55 p.m., and we are now on the move once again, with 5.5 hours to go until Flagstaff. The sun is setting as the landscape changes to one that is more desert-like. Before we know it, our 5:30 dinner reservation is announced, and we return to the diner for one last meal, just in time to see a full moon. My meal is the same as the previous night: the coconut shrimp, flat iron steak, a roll but water this time, and I decided to try out the white chocolate blueberry cobbler cheesecake. Everything was scrumptious once again. Darkness has completely fallen again as we make it to Gallup, New Mexico, about 2.5 hours after Albuquerque. This is our final fresh air stop before Flagstaff. After crossing the border into Arizona, we arrive in Winslow. Notice the beautiful Christmas trees and decorations out there by the La Posada Hotel.
That will also be the last announced fresh air break of the night. We'll have a few minutes to step off the train, get a breath of fresh air, stretch your legs, or smoke a cigarette while we're doing our station work there at Flagstaff. That will be in just about 1 hour.
And before we know it, we approach Flagstaff, Arizona at around 10 p.m., only a half hour late.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Flagstaff. Now arriving at Flagstaff. This is your final destination. Stop making your way downstairs now. Flagstaff.
As we take our final steps off this train, let me tell you that this ride was amazing. Great views, great food, and very comfortable. Here's a clip of our train departing at 10:25 p.m. for Kingman, Needles, Barstow, Victorville, San Bernardino, Riverside, and its temporary terminus in Fullerton. That wraps it up for my trip report. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to drop them in the comments. In addition, please consider subscribing for more content from me. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.